This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform.
Who else feels like America is back? For 4 long years we knelt. For 4 long years we wept. No longer. We looked back at our children for approval to act, and act we did. This is America.
Conservatism and the white right wing are aggressively claiming victory over the country that they have won back. We'll talk about that today, but first, I want to talk about Benson Boone. Do you know who Benson Boone is? He is just some pop artist from Utah, from a Mormon background, although he seems to have shed that affiliation for a more generic Christian one at this point. He has this unavoidable, I'm going to say annoying, I don't want to insult your tastes if you like this song, but I'm going to say it's an annoying hit song called Beautiful Things. I don't know if anybody's noticing, but these screams that he's doing are bellowing out lyrics that are a hop and a skip away from Christian contemporary music. He thanks God every day for the girl he sent my way and begs God not to take these beautiful things that I've got. Guys, this is a Christian song. This is a Christian song that has infiltrated secular popular music, the real sound of freedom. And he performed it at the Grammys. And it was a viral moment? Question mark? A night that also featured performances by lesbian activist superstar Chappell Roan, as well as Herbie Hancock and Janelle Monáe in tribute to Quincy Jones, at one point paused so we could watch a broccoli-haired Utahn have his suit ripped off him by 2 blonde women to reveal a skin-tight jumpsuit, after which he did a backflip onto the stage and sang a song about his renewed faith in Jesus Christ. Folks, I promise you, we are talking about America. I want to talk first, though, about this idea of ambiguity, because that's what Benson Boone represents to me. He's a dog whistle. To most people, he looks like a pretty natural, if unremarkable, pop phenomenon. It's a white boy that did American Idol, posted TikToks and got big, and now he has a team that writes him songs to belts between backflips. There are subtleties, though, to his public image that speak to the political moment. I'm dead ass. And in fact, to a particular type of politicized audience that uses him to throw shade at an increasingly wokeified culture.
This is the best awards performance in decades. Lately, all award shows have been so boring. Finally, a showman appears. Spectacular. There is still hope for the young musicians. Our hearts are saved. Just follow me here, okay? We're gonna keep talking about this. Consider his song Young American Heart, which is mostly just a generic pop love song about a young love that grew apart and being fine as long as I'm wherever you are, cause you stole my young American heart. I mean, there is this line in the second verse referring to living in some crazy times, but that's about as deep of a political commentary as you're going to get from this. It's ambiguous, in fact, just ambiguous enough to speak to any audience, including white Christians who listen to this song and think about China or wokeness or something like that. Ambiguous also is his performance of this song in Australia, in which he is clad only in American flag boxer shorts, revealing his rippling muscles to a screaming crowd. What does it mean? Well, it means he's hot, right? And he's singing a song that's kind of about America, so it works. Meanwhile, what do the comments think? Aside from being goo goo gaga about his chest, there are small comments about how his skin is so pretty he doesn't have any tattoos, or that his shorts pants are very patriotic, or constant comparisons to Freddie Mercury, which is something that also exists on the comment section of his Grammys performance. The new 21st century Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury all the way. He is so talented and handsome. I love this kid. Is it me, or does he remind you of a young Freddie Mercury? All these accounts are like definitely bots. They're just first name, last name, series of numbers. There's no other content you can find on any of these channels, so good job on his team for these. There's also this comment by someone saying, you don't see young artists entertaining like that ever. Rare talent, bit of Freddie Mercury to him. Now, I think it's interesting that someone like Freddie Mercury is being invoked to describe Boone, where Freddie Mercury was a gay man of Indian Parsi descent, and Benson Boone is, judging from his music, a Christian straight white boy. One feature that they both share, though, is apoliticism. This is Benson Boone's defining political statement of this age. Go out and vote. But, to each their own, smiley face. In lowercase letters, of course.
He's skilled in the language of pop culture, social media virality, and friendly Gen Z colloquialism. But he keeps that canvas nice and blank so he can allow others to paint whatever they want onto him. And this is mainstream art and media in Trump's America. Give little nuggets to Trump voters to appease them to some degree without outright ever affiliating with them. Produce and praise media that clearly gets at more conservative tastes aesthetically and thematically, but leave in dollops of queerness, youth culture, and the female gaze, whatever that means now. I see Sabrina Carpenter's image in some ways making that bargain, though she's far more willing to distance herself from Trump voters. That said, she very clearly studies Dolly Parton, idolizes Taylor Swift, and is learning how to massage both conservative white audiences and diverse liberal audiences the way that those two have for years. Meanwhile, Spotify can't wait to tell me about the popularity of Tate McRae's, Alex Warren's, and Tommy Richmond's. Did I get that right? Hell no. Media industries know that they'll alienate their liberal image and their left-leaning artistic stalwarts by outright endorsing the American right wing, and so they communicate to these massive, hungry audiences through the ambiguous. I tend to like talking about music a lot because I used to be a music journalist, and I have a current music blog that I'm doing through Squarespace that's just for my own private purposes. Right now, I'm writing about this new album, Showbiz by Mike, which I can't stop listening to. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform designed to help you stand out and succeed online. Whether that just be a passion project or that you're trying to get your business out there or keep your clips on as a writer, Squarespace gives you everything that you need to claim a domain, showcase offerings with a professional looking website, grow your brand, and get paid. I found Squarespace pretty easy to use. I like the design tools that it had available, quite intuitive, and I'm also pretty interested in the way that you can facilitate payments now through Squarespace with Klarna and other options, just in case one day I make that website public and sell a couple things on there. Maybe you're a videographer and you can feature video content on your website. Maybe you're somebody who wants to facilitate donations for a fundraising effort. You can use Squarespace for all of these things. So if you're interested in starting a website for any reason, go to squarespace.com/ELLIOTSANG, that's my name, to get 10% off of your first purchase of a domain or website. You can also check out the link in the description for more information. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. So it's not just the music industry where I'm noticing this ambiguity. You can see it everywhere. You can see it in the film industry with the more recent Oscars. I know that you probably forgot about the Grammys already because they were so long ago. The Oscars, more recent. So maybe you remember Kieran Culkin won Best Supporting Actor and gave a speech. In that speech, he thanks his wife for giving him babies, then publicly pressures his wife to give him more babies.
I guess I owe you a third kid. And I turned to her and I said, really, I want 4. I will give you 4 when you win an Oscar. And let's get cracking on those kids. What do you say?
Now, the right wing seemed to love this, saying that the message is obviously pro-natalist, a refreshing change from actresses thanking abortion for their successes. When has that ever happened? Never. But also the liberals want you to know that that's not how you politicize a man who has been to a pride parade and an anti-Trump rally. I love political discourse in 2025. It's just so energizing. I realized after making this video that I had forgotten to talk about Captain America Brave New World, which definitely is somewhere in here in terms of the discourse, in terms of this ambiguity, at least by the sheer fact of its inability to make a statement at all, and its continuous subjection to revisions and its induction of the Israeli character Sabra, which was obviously, upon its announcement, greeted with a lot of controversy. Really, though, this movie is forgettable. It doesn't even know how to properly play on ambiguity and some type of America back message. It just doesn't know what it wants to be at all, which I'm sure is the position of a lot of things in the industry right now. And then there's Anora, a film that has welcomed fascinating discourse since its breakout success last summer. The most awarded effort from critically acclaimed and overtly apolitical director Sean Baker not only is surely thought-provoking and captivating, but its themes in front of and behind the scenes very much welcome ambiguity in the sense of welcoming audiences from across across the political aisle. Anora is a film about a young sex worker who, upon being solicited by a young fail son of a wealthy Russian oligarch, marries him and fully embraces a nouveau riche lifestyle before it comes crashing down. I promise you, we are talking about America. Rain Fisher Kwan, who's a really cool writer, wrote on the film as a subversion of hetero-optimism, a story that shows you just how ugly it gets when you pursue the American dream as a woman of the underclass, and just how much your life in that pursuit must center on male attraction. By the end of the film, Annie has been spared no punishment for her naive investment in the great American fairy tale. The American dream tells poor people and immigrants that everyone in the United States has the opportunity to attain for themselves a better life through hard work and sacrifice. Heterosexual patriarchy tells women that the best and only way for them to secure their safety and prosperity is through attachments to men via the nuclear family. At the same time that Fisher Kwan reads all this stuff in the film, she also has to confront the ambiguity of the film, which has been lavished with awards and praise, including Best Picture at the Oscars, as a type of progressive take on sex work and gender, but also as a type of old school, apolitical American rom-com that is full of laughs and tears, and a vehicle to build a young white actress, once again by making her bear it all as a sex worker. Seriously, more women actresses have been awarded Best Actress for playing a sex worker than have been black and won Best Actress. That's wild. I'm arriving at a question that has haunted feminist discourse for decades, says Fisher Kwan. Where is the line between representing gendered suffering and reproducing it? Is the sadism involved in chronicling a woman's endless abjection the price we pay for realism? Now, Marla Cruz, sex work activist, recently wrote a far more critical article digging into the sexual politics of the film and its portrayal of sex workers. Anora shows us the immiseration of a sex worker, but it shirks any responsibility to help the audience understand it. It conceives of our exploitation and abuse as the most relevant factors in understanding who we are as human beings. Look at how broken sex workers are by capitalism, the film says, as if society did not already treat us as broken, exploited objects. In Anora, the sex worker is exactly who society thinks she is. Art by white people that reinforces how society already thinks of people. The potentially regressive politics of Anora don't stop or end at what it shows you on screen, though. You gotta think about what happens behind the scenes. In this case, a whistleblower came out recently and talked about how bad the labor practices of the film were. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but just some standout parts. It was a SAG and DGA signatory, that's Screen Actors Guild and Directors Guild, to protect his cast and himself, but tried to avoid being an IATSE shoot. IATSE is for the people behind the scenes in entertainment, so the crew, etc. Surreptitiously hid things from the largest film union, then fought them tooth and nail when it was discovered, in order to avoid offering his crew those same protections and paying them wages commensurate with the budget level in one of the world's most expensive cities. The most egregious part of that is that it means the crew not only doesn't get health insurance coverage from working on the movie, but is actually at serious risk of losing their health insurance for the year by working on the movie, because you have to bank a certain number of hours on union shoots each year to maintain it. Essentially, screwing over the union workers behind the scenes. So the film workers eventually told the union about this, and they flipped the movie. They got it to be a union effort, but Sean Baker was apparently very mad about this development. Anyway, that's an allegation, but there's some stuff that these folks are actually talking quite publicly about. And when I say these folks, I mean Sean Baker and Mikey Madison, particularly about the fact that there was no intimacy coordinators used in the film.
Did you have an intimacy coordinator? That's the big thing now these days, right?
Yeah, well, we decided that it would be best just to keep it small with us, and then Sean Baker, the director, and Sammy Kwan, his producing partner, and his wife.
Intimacy coordinators are standard practice more and more in the industry because they help for people to be properly trained and attended to during the filming of very vulnerable sex acts on screen. That's not just for the actors who have to perform them, or for the directors and the crew that has to shoot them, but for all the people that are present, because you don't know, for instance, if you're filming something that is a violation of sexual consent, how it might cause people some serious distress to film. There was recently a conversation about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and an actor who was pushed to perform an SA scene with the titular character and how that really messed him up. So regressive in terms of the politics of producing the film, as well as potentially regressive in terms of the politics in the film. But however you interpret it, either as a profound look into the struggle of sex workers or as a regressive capitalization on their suffering with little interest in changing it, you must ask yourself, why are the Oscars awarding a film that has all this baggage with it in terms of how it was produced? And why is it continuing to valorize actresses only when they perform the role of sex workers on screen, as if they must demean themselves and sexualize themselves in order to get that acclaim and respect? And why is it that Sean Baker, in a film that he is decidedly trying to be apolitical about and saying he must reach across the aisle with it, why is he the one getting awarded? Marla Cruz put it interestingly in a recent tweet. The sheen of awards season will wear off, and this film will age poorly as a reactionary representation of a sex worker best suited for the anti-intellectualism of Trump's America. From the music industry, to the film industry, to the TV industry, to social media algorithms, we are being bludgeoned with a message. The old values are still good. We just need to package them a little bit more safely, ambiguously for diverse audiences, to offer them crumbs of representation and interesting artistic choices. And then you can get the radical thought, all the actually thinking, critically thinking about films and art, placated. Make it harder to access. Make it more out of the mainstream eye. This is how art and media industries are reacting to the reactionary. Let's slowly get less and less woke and just see when people start noticing. Now, remember that Hollywood and all these industries were built for consensus, for the ideal of an American monoculture. We're all in this together, across the aisle. We come together and we watch Jaws or whatever the big film is on screen, and that's America. But this industry, especially in terms of ticket sales in the cinema and overall revenues, is struggling in current times because the divisions, this is at least a big part of it, are no longer simply able to be negotiated. The divisions between people now politically are basically irreconcilable, and that's especially when the empire itself is disinterested in playing old games. So guys, let's talk about Trump. Let's just talk about Trump a little bit. So recently, Donald Trump gave his first address to Congress of this presidency and continued in it his rampage against wokeness, a term so loaded it would be denied service at any functioning establishment. Unfortunately, the US is not a functioning establishment. In the speech, he declared, "Our country will be woke no longer."
And our country will be woke no longer.
Hell yeah, man. This came off the heels, of course, of he and Vice President J.D. Vance's joint bullying session of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the latest development in the Trump administration basically begging Europe to pull towards Chinese trade. The aesthetic is always one of declaring the renewed power of the US. Trump swears up and down that Putin's not going to violate his ceasefire because I'm here. Those other guys, those other presidents, they weren't really as American and as tough as I am, but I'm bringing tough Americanness back, and trust me, Putin knows. He knows. Meanwhile, entire election outlooks are shifting in Canada because after Trump's tariffs and his antagonistic pro-America rhetoric, there's a building strong liberal contingency that is like, go Canada, actually. Bro saved Justin Trudeau's political career single-handedly. And then there was this declaration recently of English as the official language of the US, which a lot of people will respond to like, wasn't it already? No, it wasn't. We had highly spoken languages, but no official language. And what does that mean? It's hard to say. It's an interpretation of law thing. But one thing that it could impact, for instance, is the ability for people to receive public services in this country in different languages. This is something that was unprecedented and strictly oppositional to the beliefs of the founding fathers, for whatever that's worth. But it's been announced by the White House with the phrase, "America is so back." Literally, this is the White House Twitter account. America's so back. Let's be honest, though. The US is losing its hegemonic power over the rest of the world. This move with Ukraine is doing so because it is reneging on a deal that the United States had made with NATO of pumping as much money as possible into this Ukraine war. And now he's essentially ceding it. How is that supposed to make European countries feel after they partially derailed their own economies in an already difficult situation for this war? That being said, of course, there's China and the New World Economic Bloc and BRICS that is challenging US economic diplomacy and hegemony. So these guys are going to use words and images and ideas, aesthetic and rhetorical strategy employed to pull wool over your eyes, to tell you to stop thinking about how politics actually work or have worked in this country and just trust the vibes of a return to glory. Now, I have a lot of thoughts about the real nature of American diplomacy and this genius diplomatic strategy that we've employed across the world to be an imperialist power without directly going to war a lot of the time. I have a lot of thoughts on that, okay? I have a lot of thoughts about America as a nation, and some of that you'll have to see in my next video, which is about Japan. You'll see. But I'm fascinated because it feels like there is a two-pronged assault on wokeness going on now from both the media industries and the Trump administration, communicating a message that America is back. American values are still the hegemony, they're still the thing you should just assume, and American power, well, hell yeah, it's as big as ever. The former is pushing white auteurs and artists with no overt political message even within a two-party system. The latter by pushing images of geopolitical power and domestic homogeneity. They speak two different dialects of a dying language. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you want to support my channel, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/ElliottSang, where I upload interviews with great content creators like FD Signifier and Babilla and Lily Alexander and Alice Capel.